Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, I'm back out here at Giga Texas, and since it's such a slow news day, there's not much going on within the news. I thought I would just concentrate on doing a drone flight and showing you what's going on here at Giga Texas. And there is a lot to see, even though this is a Friday and it's a down production day. But you'll see a lot of that in the video. There is something that I do want to point out of interest that was delivered today, actually two big items. These are Henkin bath tapping machines, and these are being delivered and installed over at the casting machine section of the main factory. We get a chance to see one of them being moved into the factory. As you can see by this short video clip, this is over between that baghouse filtration plant and the melt plant. And they were just moving that inside right at the time I was flying. There was another one that was being delivered on the north end. It was just sort of in queue, and then at the end of my flight, I saw it moving over to be put into the casting machine structure as well. Now you may be wondering, what is this? This Henkin bath tapping machine is to help with the aluminum recycling and handling. So here's a short video clip and a little bit of information about what it is and how it works.
The Henkin aluminum, or otherwise known as bath tapping machines, combine multiple different vehicles, making it more flexible than just a pot pending crane. And it reaches all pots even when other cranes are in the way. The closed system means that contact with liquid aluminum and the air is avoided, and that results in minimum dross, which in turn means greater efficiency. Now you may wonder, what is dross? That is a waste or an impure matter. It often refers to the scum that forms on the surface of molten metal during the smelting or refining process, and it consists of oxides and impurities, and it can cause problems if you're going to use it into items such as castings. So it needs to be removed, and that's one of the reasons why we have that skimming machine that we've talked about previously, and that works together with this bath tipping machine to ensure that the aluminum is ready for use with the castings.
Well, that's a quick wrap up of the Henkin bath tapping machine and what it is doing here at Giga Texas. I think that's a great sign that more of that recycling and aluminum work for the castings is underway here at Giga Texas. So without further ado, let's get the drone in the skies and fly around Giga Texas and see what it looks like on this Friday.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description.
If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga. Good morning from the east side of Giga Texas. We're over by the parking garage, and there is some activity on the roof that I'm going to show you here in a moment, which is kind of cool and a little bit different. While we are looking here at this material staging yard, we can see some of the corrugated steel pipes, other pipe segments, and union items. Also some of these trailers that are holding some materials inside. So continue to watch that as it's used in the south end construction. Over on this part, we see the testing and calibration lot, the old one. Not really any activity here at all. We still do see that tent underneath by the superchargers, but otherwise not really much going on here today. We can fly along the east side to the south of the factory, and we can get a good view of some of the temporary platforms that are being used to load equipment inside. But as I mentioned, there is something interesting going on the roof of the parking garage, and I'll zoom in here, and it looks like they're having kind of a small employee-only car show And one of the people here I actually know, and he said, "Hey, it's me. It's Daniel." And just waved to him. And they do this every once in a while, and they just are big car enthusiasts as well, and they like to come in and show what they have. And I think it's really cool that Tesla allows them to do that. And it's also really cool just to see that these guys are car fans as well, not just electric cars or Teslas, but of all kinds. And I think that's really neat. Now, as we continue to fly to the south over the material staging on the bottom, where we see a little bit more of the steel corrugated pipes, there is some activity I want to show you by the cooling tower and with that crane that we've saw over the last couple of videos getting set up. Looks like it's active today. First, we'll see the work on the trenching at the north end. You can see workers on the bottom putting in some pipe segments. So that work is underway. On the roof of the cooling tower near the fans, we see a group of employees. Looks like they may be doing some work on one of the fan units, the electrical systems for that fan on the right-hand side of the screen. In addition to that, we also see the crane, and it has pulled up its kind of the hook very high above the ground near this west side over where that kind of manifold is on the ground. And I'm not sure if that's related to some work that's going on with the manifold or what they're doing on the roof, but needless to say, it's pretty cool to see the work that's going on here with the cooling tower. So I'm going to reposition the drone around the south end, and we're going to come back and take a look at the work that is underway on the southwest angled corner of the factory. As I mentioned, they are doing this new wall segments. They put the texture coating in, and as expected, they are kind of staining it this dark black material or kind of a gray material. And this should blend in with the window line, also some of the window treatment and the perimeter grade beam on the bottom and its color scheme. And this really makes it kind of blend in with this side of the factory. And it looks like there's going to be at least one large receiving door and then smaller 2 doors for people to be able to enter and exit through that part of the site. Now, as I come around on the west side, we'll head up towards the north, and I'll take advantage of the fact that there's not really a lot of activity today and bring down the drone lower and show you inside this section. Also, on the right-hand side of the screen, we see that concrete area, and they got some holes in it. And it looks like they're going to be putting some sort of pipes in there. Maybe it's for bike racks or maybe for some other items that kind of serve as a divider with that area. But it is kind of neat to see how that is coming along. Now, while we are here, I'll bring the drone up to the roof. I wanted to show you the progress with the solar panels once again. It looks like they have the unirack mounts put out, but they're still waiting for more of the solar panels to arrive before they can continue to extend this solar panel line further to the north. While we're also here, I'm going to get over towards the west side of the factory. We're looking across the highway towards the end of line facility, but I wanted to bring the drone down here and take a look at what was going on with this crane and the loading platform. Really not a lot at the moment that I brought the drone down here, but I did see some equipment being moved up earlier in the day, and it looked like it was some sort of equipment that had a Tesla logo on it, but by the time I got back here, unfortunately, it was already moved inside. While we are here, also, we can look at the continued work along the berm with the trenching, the trench boxes, and more of the pipe segments that are being installed. And of course, as we mentioned before, this work is continuing to the south. It will pass the flags and then meet up with similar work that is on the south end coming towards the north. Just a real quick check here at the two platforms where vehicles can exit the factory. Really, this is a Friday, so there's not a lot of activity going on with production halted for Friday, which is normal. It's been going on for about a year. We will see some of the vehicles that were produced during the week on the other side of the highway, and some of the transport operations that are getting underway. So we'll cross over the highway and we'll take a look at that right now. First off, I just wanted to fly along the east side, heading to the south, looking across the entire facility. And as you can tell, there's just not a lot of activity in those 4 lanes where the vehicles would be arriving, nor on the south end with the superchargers. However, there is some work that is going on further to the south at the caisson. So I'm going to reposition the drone here. We'll fly over the Cyber tunnel and we'll take a look at what is going on at that caisson area. Now, when we get closer, what you'll see is there's more of those concrete pipe segments that have been delivered. And those are still being moved into the caisson with that large yellow crane, and then they prepare them to be pushed into the tunnel bore with some hydraulic rams. And this is more of the pipe segments that have been delivered and are in the process of being delivered than what we saw in my previous video. And so that seems that to suggest that the pipe or the tunnel still has a long way to go. Now, they were actively using the crane within the caisson. So what I decided today instead to show you what's going on is I put a good zoom in, and I'm bringing the drone up actually significantly higher than the crane itself. So we're not really in any danger of hitting the crane, but I wanted to use this zoom and the positioning just to show you what is going on. And right now it appears that the hydraulics rams have been pulled back with that ring, and they're getting ready for another one of those concrete pipe segments to be lowered in and then pushed into that bore. So that's kind of how that operation works. And a little later here, I'm going to reposition the drone. We're going to fly over the Colorado River to the south, and I'll show you what the caisson on the south bank of the Colorado River looks like. So what's interesting with this caisson is that several videos ago we saw that they had the tunnel boring machine near the surface of the caisson. They had some openings on the north and south, and it looks like they were going to be getting the tunnel segments through here. However, since then they put a lot of dirt at the base, and it is now starting to fill up with water. And this is what it looks like at this moment. So I'm not sure if this is just a temporary break until they're ready with the tunnel liners to connect into that caisson, or if there's some other work that is going on. But that is a really good close-up view and an update of what that looks like today. Now we're going to fly back over the Colorado River, over River Road, and we're going to head over to where this material staging yard is located. Of course, there's a lot of transformers that are being stored here next to this white sprung structure. We saw several of the transformers being delivered on my previous video, and those have been all placed at this end of where all of the transformers are located. And you can tell that there are different kinds that are in that stack. In addition to that, a little farther to the west, we see a lot of these items being delivered. They are what appears to be white and red painted items. This is very reminiscent of what we've seen with production items. And as I zoom in, this gives you a kind of a close-in view of what this all looks like. And a couple of them have that blue tarp pulled away so you can see what they are, and you can tell with the truck that more of them are being delivered right now. We also have these green capped items, and it looks like crates, and all of this is in the process of being delivered, and it has been over the last couple of days. So interesting to watch and see what happens with that. While I'm here, I flew farther to the west on this extreme southwest corner of the site. Wanted to show you what this clearing looks like. All of the gray dirt that you see is what's coming out of the tunnel bores underneath the Colorado River. It looks like more of that's being deposited here today, and they're spreading it around on this part of the site. Other dirt has been stockpiled here as well from different areas. So right now it just looks like it's a storage area for dirt for the most part. Over on this material staging yard, we do see quite a bit of equipment, everything from superchargers on the bottom right to some workshops here in the middle of the screen. A lot of items and materials on the top right, including those brown wrapped items, which are for another stamping press, I believe. We get over this orange and white tent, which is another workshop. And we see other items and steel parts on this side of the site, including these enclosures at the bottom of the screen. And of course, more of these transformers that are waiting for their opportunity to be moved and installed somewhere. Of course, there's also spools of cable that would be used for those installations. Also, while we're here, I wanted to show you what the outbound looked like today. The lot here has got many vehicles on both sides, more of the trucks picking them up. I saw many of these filled with vehicles on the north end of the factory getting ready to be moved up to the Taylor rail yard. And while I'm here also, I wanted to show you at a lower altitude that most of these Model Ys are the long-range rear-wheel drives. And you can tell by the lack of a badge on the back of the vehicles. And it looks to me like there are a lot of these that have been produced over this week. And I think that's great news because I think the first deliveries of these long-range rear-wheel drives to customers is expected to be happening extremely soon. And I know those customers are looking forward to that. As you can tell, there's many more on this side of the site, and a few of them are actually being used on that test track right now as they do some additional processing of vehicles, preparing for a big weekend of transportation. Here we see more of this trench work. The trench boxes are in place and the crews are getting ready to install some additional items through this part of the site. And I don't see what the pipes are right now, so it's kind of hard to tell for sure what this is by the size of the trench boxes. It would suggest that these are steel corrugated pipes for water management, but I can't say for sure, and I will try to watch that and get a better update later on. The Tesla Semi is not here today. This is the Mega Charger where they have been doing some testing and charging of that Semi. So right now, maybe they're testing the Semi itself with some routes around this location. And they're trying to help support Giga Texas. And I would like to see a lot more of them and maybe replace what we see here with these delivery trucks, bringing in more of those items that are headed towards that far southwest staging yard. This staging yard continues to just be filled with the Evapco fan units and bases, some of the steel items. And of course, on the north end, they're using this cleared area, at least for the moment, as a storage location for more of the delivery trucks. And this is a close-in view of what this looks like. We have seen these being used. We saw several of them driving away on my previous video. My suspicion is that they are using this so that they can transport more vehicles quickly in one grouping, rather than having less trucks, what they've been doing for some time. So that should help with their throughput, and maybe it's getting ahead of some additional production coming up soon. As I mentioned, there are many of the transport trucks on this north end. You can see a few of them here at the bottom of the screen. And once they've loaded up, they all get here, and then they wait for their time slots to head up to the rail yard at Taylor, Texas. And while I am here also, this is a nice view across the site where we have the switch yard and the two mega packs on the right hand side of the screen to that new Cortex 2 facility. A lot of the land that has been prepared for construction, and of course the battery cathode plant and die shop in the upper left hand side of the screen. So while I'm here, I'll just give you this nice overall view of this construction site and how it appears today. The water detention pond is full of water because of all the rains that we've had. This part of the site in the middle is where that electrical switch yard will be expanded to double its size. And at the middle of the screen, as we get in closer, this is the construction of that underground vault for all the conduits that will come in and be connected to most likely 3 more trailers, very similar to what you see in the top center of the screen. This is going to basically mirror image what we see with that electrical switchyard already installed. And here you can see how they've been putting in some vaults at the base where the concrete floor of the vault will be. for more of the conduit to come in. And again, this view here shows you what it will look like when it is completed. There is some earthwork to the north of the Megapack 2. More of the fence posts have been placed all around the perimeter now. Most of the cabling down through the middle at the cable trays is installed, and they're doing some additional cable installation right now. And at the south end, we see more of the drilling and getting ready for the fence that's going to be around that perimeter. We also see some additional work near where these trailers are. Of course, these trailers are going to be relocated soon. The replacements are already being installed on the east parking lot. That'll allow for more construction here. The Cortex 2 is rapidly getting more of its walls now on the south, the west, and the east side, working their way towards the north. And what they are going to do is put that ground slab in after they get much of these wall segments in. So that'll make it harder for us to be able to see what they're doing. But I kind of have a suspicion that they want to have the roof and the walls in so that they can maybe start putting equipment inside more rapidly. But that'll definitely be something that we will watch. But this is a great look at the steel studs that are being installed along the sides, the parapet wall, and how that's going to make it all look like it's one level and kind of a squared off top of the roof. We see some more work at perimeter grade beam here on the left of the screen. And at the top part, we see where there's still some segments that need the roof decking installed. And as I kind of cross back over, this gives you a nice look at how this end of the facility is coming together. And as I showed you on the previous video, here on the north end, they have provisions to lengthen the building even more with some footings and some bolt mounts in those footings along the entire perimeter grade beam. So we'll see how that goes, but for now, this is how the building is coming together. You can tell that there's about 3/4 of it, maybe 80% that has the roof decking. The rest is getting done right now. Another thing that we do notice is that the two large yellow cranes that were responsible for building that Cortex 2 structure have been disassembled and moved off site. They were right at the bottom of the screen where you see all of those tire marks or track marks. And as I kind of maneuver the drone around, this will give us an opportunity to look up to the far northeast where we see the earthwork, some of the old areas where the concrete has been recycled, and of course the two large fields in the upper part of the screen. The one on the left is for materials and items. The one on the right is the rental equipment lot and maintenance facilities. As I turn back, this is a nice view across the battery cathode plant with Cortex 2 on the right, the die shop in the middle center. Of course, the steel corrugated pipes being stored here next to the battery cell test lab. Some of the asphalt that's being put in, possibly as a test track along where the wade pit is and along this side of the crash testing facility. And as I look further down, you can see some of that old concrete that's being used to kind of line this area where I would expect them to eventually pave over this. So this is what the crash testing area looks like today, and kind of a nice update of what is going on with that possible test track that's being put on that side of those facilities. As we continue to fly here on the east side, I just wanted to give a quick look at what is going on here. This is where we have a lot of the trailers for contractors. You can tell on the ground some of those empty square, kind of darker parts of the ground. That's where trailers have used to be, and they've been moved off as these are slowly being disassembled, and some of the operations are being moved around the site. There is still a lot of equipment and materials, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. And of course, the east warehouse on wheels with all of these trailers is pretty filled up with these trailers today. Of course, in there is the items that they use for production. And with the warehouse on wheels concept, they use these trailers as the warehouse rather than using floor space within the factory. This is what the concrete vaults at the bottom of the screen look like right now. Still waiting for movement to be installed over at the construction site around Cortex 2. And as I mentioned, the trailers are getting moved. This is what it looks like right now as they are finishing up setting up these new temporary offices for Tesla. So I'm going to fly over the east parking lot. You can see that it's kind of empty. That again, that is because this is a Friday. And for the last year, they have not done production on Fridays. So that is pretty consistent from what we can tell. But while I'm here, I'm going to come in closer and I'll zoom in, show you what this new loading platform looks like. And they have a crane nearby. There's some work on the ground just to the north there. And of course, we see the racks with many of the castings. In fact, there are a lot of castings all over this part of the site. While I continue to maneuver to the north, we see a few interesting items. One, there's a crane. They're doing some work at the top of the baghouse filtration plant. Number two, we see another one of those bath tipping machines being moved in, maneuvered, and driven into the melt center part of the casting machine structure. This is a great view of what that appears like. You can also get a sense of scale with the semi-truck and the trailer that it is on. These are not small items. And as I mentioned before in the intro, these are part of the aluminum melting manufacturing process and recycling process. And it allows them to handle the aluminum without getting air contamination. And that helps prevent the contaminants that would be put into the aluminum as part of that process. I'm going to cross over the power lines and show you an area where they are doing some road work next to the casting machine structure. And as I kind of maneuver the drone around, this gives you a look at what's going on. It appears to be a concrete pipe sticking up, probably for a manhole cover, and they're doing some repair or additional work on this. They have the concrete kind of cut out, and it's right next to the rails around the road as well. So this is actually, it's not concrete, it's a steel corrugated pipe, and that is part of the water management system that is underground throughout the entire side of the factory. In fact, it rings around the factory to prevent flooding and direct all that water to the south to the Colorado River. On the north end, we see where they've relined this section by the paint shop is now fully being used by the paint stands for the bumpers and other parts for the Model Y and some other rack mounts for the bodies. And this is another one of those aluminum bath tipping machines being delivered. And this is the same as what we just saw being put into the casting machine structure. This just happens to be out in the open. I'll zoom in and you can get a good view of what this appears like and its size. And you can definitely tell the Henkin label on there. And that's kind of where I got that the beginnings to find out more about what these are and what we discussed in the video intro. But it is great to see because that means that even more of the operation of the furnace is well underway here at Giga Texas. There is some additional work here with the flexible conduit for fiber optics being put in along this part of the berm. Now, we've seen this over the last several years where fiber optics have been added in, and I don't know if this is an addition or if they're doing some repair work on that. But a lot of that's going along here on this northern part of the facility next to the cyber berm. So I'm going to pull the drone up and we're going to do a pretty extensive pull away today. Since it's Friday, I wanted just to give you a really good view of all of the areas that we visited from the top right at that West Logistics Support Facility where the end of line, the outbound lot, and all those materials are stored. Of course, the main factory, the 2 megapacks, the switch yard here at the bottom of the screen, the east side where we visited, and then over at the Cortex 2, the die shop and the battery cathode plant. And this is just a really nice bird's eye view of how all of this is coming together and the amount of the site that is being developed. So as always, I appreciate your watching and thank you very much. Have a great weekend.